So, this is home. A little spare, don't you think?
Thought I'd have frilly curtains.
Well, now that you mention it. I'm just saying maybe you should consider conserving ammo and installing seats with upholstery. Think about it.
Keep the place clean and we'll talk.
I guess I can live with it for now. We can't all be fabulously wealthy criminal masterminds, but this bounty hunting gig seems straightforward enough. Besides, I like the idea of doing the chasing for a change, even if I am slumming it. Oh, it's good to relax. This is as close as I'm getting to it these days.
Something wrong?
Wrong? Oh, yeah, that's putting it lightly. I'm going nuts here. I've spent so long keeping one step ahead of somebody, I can't believe I've lost them for good. At least when I'm out with you, I usually know where the blaster fire's coming from. Keeps my mind off trouble. Mostly.
The less time you and Trouble spend together, the better.
You've got a marvelously camouflaged sense of humor, you know that? Let's see how easily you brush off your old instincts and catch 40 winks after you've spent 30 years bounty hunting.
I knew you were a career scoundrel, but 30 years on the run? Pretty impressive.
Things weren't so bad until people finally realized the same guy was responsible for most of their woes. And I've made some enemies over the years, believe me. 2.5 Hutt families, the entire Carillion Exchange. And there was that whole blockade incident that ran the Mandalorians home with their tails between their legs. Come on, I think I've had my fill of all this cheering up. Following you around isn't so bad. You visit the most extravagant locales. Oh, I picked up a little souvenir from the Royal Museum. I thought we could make sure these get put to better use.
You're giving me something worth money?
Gesture of good faith and all that. Figured if I'm stuck here, I might as well lighten the mood. Unless we find a collector, we'll need to fence these. Quick turnaround will forfeit a big cut, but it'll be a nice bonus.
I'd rather get the most bang for my buck. Throw 'em in cargo.
Yeah, works for me. Try not to make too many sharp turns. You know, you're pretty quick to sniff out an opportunity for profit.
What's your point?
Just an observation. Makes food for thought. I wonder how much more lucrative our little partnership could be if you applied that intuition to something other than bounty hunting.
Gave up trying to make an honest living already?
I was looking for a fresh start with this little arrangement, not a career change. My abundance of skills and expertise are always at your disposal. It just so happens that most of my expertise is in crime. Mull it over. I'd hate to see so much potential go to waste. I've been thinking it over, and I see a lot of room for improvement maximizing your profits. Take catching me, for example. Sure, you got a nice bounty from the Great Hunt, but why stop there? You just need to use a little imagination.
And what did your imagination come up with?
A few words in the right ears, and you could make a lot of money on poor Tiresias's remains, if you don't mind double-crossing crime lords. Offer the body, see who bites, rob them blind. Couldn't be simpler.
Are all of your schemes this blunt?
It's not the most elaborate con, but you're new at this. Besides, the scams are a lot less risky when you know you can vaporize anyone in the room. So, that suggestion I had involving my duplicate? Turns out there are a lot of folks out there who've still got a bone to pick with the late Tiresias Loci. A little friendly competition couldn't hurt our final take. I'm thinking an auction would do the trick.
In my experience, auctions in the underworld don't mix well.
Oh, sure. Get enough bad seeds in one place, and something bad's bound to crop up. A little weeding out takes care of that. Give me some time off the ship, and I can handle the whole thing by proxy. The only finger you'll have to lift will be the one accepting your credit transfer.
Take as long as you need.
I'll be back before you know it. What, no parade? Oh, not even a cake? How about at least mustering a good to see you for the guy holding your share of the credits?
I take it the auction went to plan?
I don't know whether to be flattered by the numbers. Your cut. Pretty good take, considering the expenses. The bidders really couldn't wait to take Tiresias off our hands.
What expenses?
Middlemen, venues, security, incentives, everything necessary to ensure a smooth transaction with half the underworld in one place. 3 pirate crews, 10 free traders, 2 exchange bosses, half a dozen huts, one I don't even remember crossing. Kept licking his lips. I think his name was Druga. It was quite the rogues gallery. A lot of familiar faces. Brought back memories, let me tell you. Have I mentioned how much pulling that little con has improved my mood? I think that auction put to bed any lingering doubts that Tiresias is dead and gone. And aside from knowing my new identity on a stick, I'd almost forgotten how much I love a good scheme.
Does this mean you're going to stop pacing the ship at all hours?
Sure, unless I'm planning our next big score. It's hard to work a proper hustle when you're on the run, chum. I've pulled more heists than cons in recent memory. That was the kind of racket my former partner preferred. Simple, bold, effective. Used to argue about that a lot.
How'd you two part ways?
We had different ideas about where we were headed. Water under the bridge. My preference is to be long gone by the time anyone gets wise. That's a lot easier without bounty hunters breathing down my neck. It's about time I got back in the game. Can't afford to let myself get out of practice, after all. Let me tell you a little thing about opportunity.
Enlighten me.
Sometimes, when it knocks, you put it away for a rainy day. Take this group of fresh-off-the-shuttle Arcona I met at the Mosila spaceport before you showed up. I left those Arcona with a stellar impression of Geller rowing, helpful merchant, and earmarked them for a return trip once things died down.
So you're planning to sell them junk speeders?
That's small time, friend. I don't think you fully appreciate the caliber of moron we're dealing with. Seems fresh water's hard to come by on Kona. These rubes heard about moisture farming on Tatooine and figured it was their ticket to riches. Fleecing these yokels will be like taking candy from a baby. The key is finding the right scheme.
You really enjoy seeing what you can get away with, don't you?
Surely a Mandalorian can appreciate testing one's limits. Moisture farmers aren't exactly rolling in credits, but a whole colony of them can add up. Remember those Arcona colonists I was telling you about? Well, I've got the perfect racket to skim a little profit off those moisture farming saps. Salt.
As in table salt?
Well, I'm not talking bath salts, considering water's a luxury good. Listen, I've got a theory. I used to know this spacey Arconan bagman back on Nar Shaddaa. Thought the guy was a spice head for the longest time. Turns out I was only half right. This guy's cravings were something else.
Are all Arcona this screwy?
The few I've met haven't exactly instilled me with confidence. One night after making our handoff in some dive diner, he orders some garbage soup and dumps an entire shaker of salt into the bowl. Should have seen the way this guy went at the stuff before stumbling out of the place like its last call.
Your money's on these colonists having the same craving.
10 to 1 says there's something about salt that those wedgeheads can't resist. We're gonna sell those colonists the answer to all their woes, specially formulated and offered exclusively through Rowing Industries. If I'm right about how much Arcona love the stuff, our biggest problem will be keeping up the supply. Meet our new product. Had our salt shipment bottled as special tablets to help organics retain water. Now we just need to seal the deal. I want you with me when our prospective buyer calls. Keep him from getting too comfortable. We'll be meeting an Arcona named Gruna to convince him to act as our supplier to the colony.
I thought you were going to be the supplier.
Unless you want to start making regular trips to the middle of nowhere, we need a middleman. This chump would do anything for enough credits to get off Tatooine. I don't think it'll take much to get poor Gruna to bite. Gruna, good to hear from you. Looking well. Lose some weight?
Agriso efretu parai.
Oh, her? Don't worry about her. Had to let my last security detail go in favor of this fine lady. Say hello, my dear.
Hello.
You know, Gruna, I'm a bit of a philanthropist. Did I mention that?
Grojaman.
My visit to Tatooine left me inspired by the plight of rugged folks like yourself trying to squeeze life out of that dust bowl. Making life easier for the little guy, that's my motto. And helping you hardworking souls is now my personal mission.
I'm sure he's more interested in hearing about the product.
Who wouldn't be? The top chemists at Rowing Industries developed this little wonder for us. A compound designed to maximize water retention in organic life forms. The benefit to hardworking subsistence farmers such as yourself is immeasurable.
Andravimos pandimas protes cada viteradag. Smalsio populas mana ir padre mana nargali.
That's a better plan for your savings than investing in this garbage. This is lower than I'm willing to sink, Gault.
Mano aliate bavo mano?
I must be having some kind of flashback. Can't find decent help these days. Just let me handle my associate and we'll finish our business. Snap out of it, buddy. It's Geller. Geller Rowing, your boss. Don't mess this up.
Need me to remind you who's boss?
Oh, ease off, if it means that much to you. I can't even begin to express my disappointment.
Kaikaios naba, jotinai rodo cab itinas?
Looks like I'm sending you the whole shipment, free of charge. Choke on it. Well, since we both know how sensitive you are about robbing the poor, let me remind you of the benefits of robbing the rich. You remember those little trinkets that happened to come into our possession on Alderaan? I managed to sell most of the stuff right back to the nobility at a tidy profit.
How'd you swing that?
It took a little laundering, but the Alderaanians were very eager to outbid the competition. Notice anything different?
Are you gonna get upset if I say no?
Hardly. I'll just chalk it up to fine craftsmanship. Just acquired some nice form-fitting blast armor. Thought I'd see if it would stand up to a trained eye. Apparently so, if your observation is any indication.
The equipment I'm providing not cutting it?
No complaints. This is purely supplemental. Since I'm still putting myself in harm's way, I decided to make a little investment in my well-being. Been stocking up on interesting tidbits at every port we've hit. From here on, I'm ready for anything. So, what do you know about Hilo Viz?
Who or what is Hilo Viz?
Only the big-time celebrity who coordinated the biggest blockade run this galaxy's ever seen. She broke the Mandalorian blockade at the Hydian Way. You know, the one that strangled Coruscant and dashed a full-scale Jedi assault. And it wasn't out of the goodness of her heart, either. Credits were involved. A lot of them.
I like her already.
Oh, she was quite the lady. You could say that run was the height of her career, but that's only because she dropped off the scanners not long after. Most think the Hutts were behind Hilo's disappearance, but anyone who knew her could tell you they'd have better odds winning a marathon. No, she's still out there. Somewhere.
Never took you for the type to get starstruck.
What? No. We've got history. Hilo was my old partner. More than that. That blockade run was the last thing we ever did together. Like I said, a lot of credits were involved. When I saw the opportunity, I took off and left Hilo holding the bag. Stupid.
Is that a conscience showing?
I don't know, maybe. It was a dumb move I regret making. Listen, I found out that an old associate from that blockade run is still around and kicking. A mutual acquaintance. I owe Hilo one last visit. If he knows where she's been laying low all this time, I've got to track him down. I caught up with that old associate from the blockade run. Old Quan and I had a nice little chat. He was surprised to see me, to say the least.
Can you trust him to keep quiet about your new identity?
Oh, I'd say he'll remain mum on the subject indefinitely. Don't give me that look. I bought his last round. Before I had to end Quan's retirement prematurely, I convinced him to fill me in on some gaps in our history since the blockade run. When the Hutts came looking for their return investment, Hilo Viz smuggled herself off to Republic space with the help of another free trader.
That definitely increases her odds of being alive.
I'm not so sure, given where she was headed. Remember Zale Barrows? She cut a deal with that twerp to hide her on Belsavis. If she's still stuck there, this is my chance to swoop in to the rescue. I've got to go after her.
If it means this much to you, count me in.
This is personal, a little too personal. I've got to take care of this on my own. If I don't make it, well, thanks. I don't think Tiresias would have ever gotten this opportunity.
When did you get back?
Oh, a little while ago. I wasn't exactly in a talkative mood. My little pipe dream involving Hilo went about as you'd have expected.
Didn't find her?
No, I found her. After all these years, I finally caught up with her, and she hadn't changed a bit. I found her on Belsavis in some sort of stasis chamber. It was like I just left.
She wasn't in a forgiving mood.
If she'd had a blaster, she'd have shot me the moment she came to. Lucky for me, she recognized that prison wasn't the place to hash things out. She took off the first chance she got. Hardly the reunion I was looking for, but I got her out of that pit. That counts for something, right?
I'm not the one to ask.
I guess I'm stuck answering that one myself. If you'll excuse me, I need to create a hangover to nurse. You're not gonna believe this. I heard from Hilo. She's willing to take me back if I'm willing to show she means more to me than me. Sent the message certified, credits on delivery. Whew, almost cleaned me out just to have it delivered.
I hope you get her back. She's my kind of lady.
One of a kind. Too bad it took me this long to figure it out. I feel like I'm back in my prime. Not that I'd slipped, I'm just unburdened. I owe you for that, so I thought I'd say it. Don't go making a big deal out of it.
Glad I could help, really.
I've gotta hand it to you, you really surprised me. You're not what I would call a conventional partner in crime. But we're really turning out to make quite the team.
That mean I'm stuck with you?
I'm afraid so. You and me, we're going to carve out a criminal empire, or at least accumulate one heck of a fortune. Your children's children won't know what to do with it. I'm telling you, wild space is the limit.